వినిపిస్తుంది మ్యామ్.
Good afternoon, everybody. So we are discussing asymptotic notations, right? Yesterday we discussed big O notation, big omega, theta, little o, and little omega notations, right? Their definitions, their graphs, examples. So we have seen all that. So now we will see the properties. Okay, properties of asymptotic notations. Okay, first I'll write general properties. Is there any reflection on board? Yeah, let us discuss general properties first. Okay, what are general properties? The first one is like this. If f of n is equal to big O of g of n. So if this is true, then we can say, wherever I write then or implies both are same. Okay, then even if you multiply the left hand side with a constant a, still it is valid. That is the meaning. Is equal to big O of g of n. There is no difference. Why? You know what is the meaning of f of n equal to big O of g of n? What is this? F of n is less than or equal to some constant into g of n. Correct? This meaning is f of n is less than or equal to some constant into g of n. Even if I multiply with a constant on the left hand side, definitely that will come and divide this side. This multiplication will divide this side. Correct? So this c by a is one more new constant. I am saying c1. So if I replace this here, c1 into g of n. The f of n is equal to some new constant into g of n is less than or equal to, which means again big O. That's why even if you multiply with a constant, still it is big O of g of n only. Okay, second property. If f of n is equal to big O of h1 of n and g of n is again big O of another h function, h2 of n. This is h1, this is h2. Then I am adding the left hand sides. F of n plus g of n will be big O of what? I am adding the left hand sides. F of n plus g of n is equal to big O of maximum of h1 of n comma h2 of n, whichever is maximum in these two. So it is big O of that. And this property is useful for us to find the time complexities of non-recursive algorithms. Okay. So if there are two for loops in the same algorithm, by using this property, we will say the time complexity. Okay. So if at all it is a multiplication, it is just we don't use it, but in maths even this is there. Then it is big O of product of h1 of n and h2 of n. For us, this is of no importance. Okay, these are general properties. Now we will see reflexive properties, symmetric, transitive, transposymmetric. Okay, all of them, which are mathematical formulas only. If you remember, when do we say a relation R, okay, as a reflexive? When do we say R as a reflexive? If A related to A, then we say R is reflexive. If you prove A is related to A, then we say R is reflexive. Okay. Then what is symmetric? If somebody say A is related to B, then if B is also related to A, then we say R is symmetric. If this is true and this is also true, then it is symmetric. This is true, but this is not true, then R is not symmetric. Okay. Transitive. If A is related to B and B is related to C, Then if A is also related to C, we say R is transitive. Otherwise R is not transitive. Okay? If you know these properties, now the same thing I am going to apply. Because you know, yesterday we were saying big O means less than or equal to, big omega means greater than or equal to, okay, theta is equal to, little o is strict less than, little omega is strict greater than. If you know these properties and if you know what is reflexive, symmetric and transitive, we can write all the properties. You don't have to by heart. Okay, let me explain. First less than or equal. Forget about big O's. First less than or equal. Can I say A is less than or equal to A or not? Is A less than or equal to A true? Yes. Less than or equal to. A is less than or equal to A is true. So, reflexive property is true for less than or equal to, which means it is true for big O also. Similarly, A greater than or equal to A is also true. So, it is reflexive property is true for big omega also. A is equal to A is also true. So, theta is also reflexive. Can I say A is strictly less than A? Is it true? A is strictly less than A? No. So, reflexive property is not true for big O and big omega because A greater than A is also wrong. So, reflexive property is true for only big O, big omega and theta. Yes, I am writing them now. Reflexive. What is reflexive? F of n is equal to big O of f of n. F of n is equal to big omega of f of n. A. So f of n, f of n. I am not using g of n. That is reflexive. A related to A. F of n is equal to theta of f of n. Yes. That's all. Reflexive property is true only for the first three asymptotic notations. Okay, this is reflexive. Let's see symmetric. What is symmetric property? If A is related to B, then B is also related to A. Then only we say R is symmetric. I'm asking you, if I say A is less than or equal to B, then can I say B is less than or equal to A? This is also less than or equal to, this is also less than or equal to. Example, 3 less than or equal to 5. Then, can I say 5 is less than or equal to 3? Is this true for less than or equal to? No. When you interchange B and A, relation will change. It becomes greater than or equal to. That we will discuss in transpose symmetry. So, A less than or equal to B does not imply B less than or equal to A. Which means reflexive property is not true for less than or equal to B group. Similarly, if A is greater than or equal to B, can I say B is greater than or equal to A? No, false. So, symmetric property is not true for big omega also. How about theta? If A is equal to B, then B is equal to A. Yes or no? Yes, it is true. So, symmetric property is true for theta. Then how about little omega? If A is strictly less than B, then B is strictly less than A, is it? This is 3, 5. Is 5 less than 3? No. False. So, for strict less than, symmetric property doesn't work. Even for strict greater than, symmetric property doesn't work. So, symmetric property is true only for theta, which means if f of n is equal to theta of g of n, then g of n is equal to theta of f of n. That's all. Symmetric property is true only for theta, not for anything else. There is something called transpose symmetric, which we have already discussed as a note, but we will write again. Even this we have written as a note when we discussed theta notation. Okay? The property name is symmetric. Now for transpose symmetric, it is like this. If A is less than or equal to B, then B is greater than or equal to A. Less than or equal to A is false. That's why it was not symmetric. But B is greater than or equal to A. This is called transpose symmetry. Okay, we have written this as a note. If A is equal to big O of G of n, then G of n is equal to big omega of f of n. When you interchange B and A, relation will also change. So if here it is big O, it becomes big omega. If here it is big omega, it becomes big O. Similarly for little o and little omega. If A is strictly less than B, then B is strictly greater than A, obviously. 3 less than 5 implies 5 is greater than 3. Correct? So this property is true between big O, big omega and little o, little omega. Right. I'm writing the same thing now. If f of n is equal to big O of G of n, that implies, which means then G of n is equal to big omega of f of n. Similarly, if f of n is equal to big omega of G of n, that implies G of n is equal to big O of f of n. So if you interchange them, relation will also change. Similarly for little o, little omega, little o of G of n implies G of n is equal to little omega of f of n. Similarly, if f of n is equal to little omega of G of n, it implies G of n is equal to little o of f. All the properties are clear till now. Transitive is still pending. Okay. Best book for algorithms is Algorithms by Corman. Even IITs are following the same book. Okay, and all these properties are from that book only. If you write a notes, that's better. Okay, you cannot read that entire book because the book size is like this. So whenever I'm explaining, please write down your own notes. Or if you are looking for a notes, please contact me on my number. Okay, let us talk about transitivity. Transitive property. What is transitive property? If A is related to B and B is related to C, that implies A is also related to C. Now I am asking, if A is less than or equal to B and B is less than or equal to C, then can I say A is also less than or equal to C? 2 less than or equal to 5 and 5 less than or equal to 7, then 2 less than or equal to 7 is also true or not? Yes, true. So less than or equal to follows transitive property. Similarly, greater than or equal to. If A is greater than or equal to B and B is greater than or equal to C, that implies A is also greater than or equal to C. Yes. For example, 7 greater than or equal to 4 and 4 greater than or equal to 2 implies 7 is greater than or equal to 2. And if A is equal to B and B is equal to C, that implies A is equal to C. Yes. Correct. Similarly, strictly less than. If A is strictly less than B and B is strictly less than C, that implies A is strictly less than C, no doubt. Similarly, if A is strictly greater than B and B is strictly greater than C, that implies A is strictly greater than C. Correct. So, transitivity is true for all the notations that we discussed. So, we need to write transitive property for big O, big omega, theta, little o, little omega. Okay, let me write the properties now. We'll write from here, transitive. First one, if f of n is equal to big O of G of n and G of n is equal to big O of H of n, then, which means that implies f of n is equal to big O of H of n. Yes, Correct. Second property, if f of n is equal to omega of g of n and g of n is equal to omega of h of n, that implies f of n is equal to omega of h of n. Similarly for theta, if f of n is equal to theta of g of n and g of n is equal to theta of h of n, that implies f of n is equal to theta of h of n. Similarly for little o, if f of n is equal to little o of g of n and g of n is equal to little o of h of n, that implies f of n is equal to little o of h of n. The last one, if f of n is equal to little omega of g of n and g of n is equal to little omega of h of n, it implies f of n is equal to little omega of h of n. You should know all the properties, but you don't have to by heart because we know the relationship between less than or equal to, greater than or equal to, strictly less than and strictly greater than. Same thing we have applied. So any one of these properties can be a gate question. Please write down all of them. Can I erase? That is about asymptotic notations. Maths class is finished. Now we will start algorithms class again. Okay. Now our main target is to find the time complexities of algorithms, right? So this is the pending part in asymptotic notations, which is finding the time complexities of algorithms. Finding the time complexity. But there are two types of algorithms. One is non-recursive algorithms, which means there is no recursion. In that algorithm, there is no recursion. There can be some for loops or there are no for loops also. Okay? Yeah. So that they are all non-recursive algorithms and recursive algorithms. So there are two types of algorithms and we need to find time complexities of both of them. Okay, first we will discuss non-recursive algorithms, which is like strict step count method. Okay, of course we are not going to count the step and the number of steps. We don't need exact answers, right? So just the big O notation. And recursive algorithms. Yes, recursive algorithms is there are two methods to find recursive algorithm. Okay, substitution method. The steps involved are, first we will write the recurrence relation. First we will write the recurrence relation and then we solve this recurrence relation. Okay. So these are the two steps that we do for recursive algorithm. For non-recursive, it is straightforward. I will be writing many algorithms now. You have to tell me what is the time complexity. Once we come to recursive algorithm, of course, that has two steps to find the time complexity. First, we need to write the recurrence relation, and then we need to solve it. But how do we solve this recurrence relation? That we do in two ways. One is by using substitution method, which you must have already learned in college. Of course, we will see some of the examples how we solve using by using substitution method. But in GATE, we don't go for substitution method because solving each recurrence relation will take 5 minutes time. Okay, but we need to give an instant answers like within 1 minute. So we use master theorem because we are interested in big O notation, not the exact answers. Okay, master theorem. We will learn substitution method also, but not for many examples. Okay. So by using Master's theorem, we will solve any kind of recurrence relation, straight answer in terms of big O notation. So this is the pending part in asymptotic notations. Once we finish all of that, that's all. Asymptotic notations is finished. That's when we go for gate questions. So this is the order which we are following now. First one, non-recursive algorithms. Finding the time complexities of non-recursive algorithms. I'll write different algorithms now. You should tell me the time complexities of each and every algorithm. I'm not going to write from main function onwards. I'll just write one for loop. If there is only that for loop in the main function, what is the answer? Even if you have other instructions, a fixed number of instructions without having any other loop, that's all. Time complexity depends on this for loop only. So based on that, I'm writing just the for loops. For I equal to 0, I less than n, I plus plus. There is a printf statement. That's all. This is an algorithm which is present in main function. There can be another 10 or 20 other instructions also, but 20 is a fixed amount. We are not interested in that fixed figures. We don't have to add that plus 20. It doesn't have any meaning. Okay? Because we are studying the algorithms as n tends to infinity. So our interest is on that n. That's all. Even if you have another 20 or 100 instructions, no problem. This is a for loop. Yes, this makes the difference in the time complexity of an algorithm. So we are interested in those for loops or while loops. Okay, second one. So for all these algorithms, you should tell me the time complexities. For I equal to 0, I less than n, I equal to I plus 2. And there is a printf statement. For I equal to 0, I less than m by 2, I plus plus. Another printf statement. For I equal to n, I greater than or equal to 1, I minus minus. Printf.
Ma'am, your screen is not visible, ma'am.
Is it? Is that okay? Hello?
No, ma'am. It is not visible, ma'am.
Is this the case for everybody?
Visible, ma'am.
Is it visible now?
Yes, ma'am. Visible, ma'am.
Yeah. If there is any problem, please just log in again. Yes, for I equal to 1, I star I less than or equal to n, I plus plus, printf. For I equal to 1, I less than or equal to SQRT of n, I plus plus, printf. Let me write one more also here. For I equal to 1, I less, I into I is less than or equal to n, I plus plus, printf. Shall I continue some other algorithms? We'll discuss all of them at a time. For I equal to 1, I less than or I less than n, I equal to I star. It need not be a printf. Any number of instructions in a for loop. It's just a block of statements. Okay, in that block there are fixed amount of instructions. We are not interested in those fixed. How many times this block gets executed is important because it's a loop. It's repeated. We don't know how many times it gets repeated. We are interested in finding them. For I equal to n, I greater than or equal to 1, I equal to I by 2. I less than or equal to n, I plus plus. For j equal to n, j greater than or equal to 1, j minus 1. Let's discuss till here. Yes, you should tell me the big O notation of each algorithm. First one, it starts from 0, goes till n minus 1, I plus plus. So how many times this for loop block, whether it is printf or a block of statement, doesn't matter. How many times this for loop runs? Obviously,
N times, ma'am.
sorry,
N times, ma'am.
n times, yes. N times, approximately. We are not interested in whether it is n minus 1 or n plus 1. Because that plus 1 and minus 1 has no importance in terms of big O. I told you in the very first statement. We are studying the behavior of the functions as n tends to infinity. So ignore all the constant multiplications, additions, subtractions, and divisions. So it is big O of n only. Okay, done. First one is okay. Second one. 0 to n minus 1. I equal to I plus 2. It is not incrementing by 1. It is getting incremented by 2. Which means when I equal to 0, I equal to 2, I equal to 4, 6, 8. For all of them it is getting executed. Up to n, we are interested in these even numbers, right? So how many even numbers will be there up to n? Approximately.
N by 2.
N by 2, right? Yes or no?
Yes,
So
ma'am.
this line gets executed, this one gets executed for n by 2 times. But are we interested in that by 2? Because it is big O notation. We are not interested. That's why it is big O of n only. You can ignore constant additions, multiplications, divisions. So big O notation, it is only big O of n. If you want to know exactly how many, yes, it is n by 2. Fine. Next one. 0 to n by 2 only, I plus plus. So you will go by 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 up to n by 2 only. So how many times? Only n by 2. But are we interested in that by 2 in terms of big O notation? Not interested. So it is big O of n only. Next one. It starts from n, goes till 1 by decrementing. So we are reducing. Whether you go from 1 to n or n to 1, are you not performing all the iterations? 1, 2, 3, 4 up to n is same as n, n minus 1, n minus 2 and so on. So we are doing the same process for n times. So again it is big O of n only. Algorithm can be given in any way just to confuse you. That's why I have written all different possibilities. Okay, next one. You should tell me this one. I equal to 1, I into I less than or equal to n, I plus plus. How many times?
Root 10.
Root n, correct. Why? You can take an example and see. For example, n value, I am taking that as 25. If n is 25, I am starting with 1, then I equal to 1. 1 into 1 is less than or equal to 25. So gets executed. I becomes 2. 2 into 2, 4 is less than or equal to 25. I becomes 3. 3 into 3, 9 less than or equal to becomes 4. 4 into 4, 16 less than or equal to 25. True. I becomes 5. 5 into 5 less than or equal to 25. That is also true. When I become 6, 36 less than or equal to 25 is false. So we'll stop. So how many times you have executed this for loop? Only 5 times. Why 5? How did you get this 5 from this 25? It is root of 25. Even if you take 36, you will get one more. If you take 49, you will get one more. If you take 55, still it goes till 7 only. That's all. Right? It cannot go to 8. So it is approximately root 10. Only root 10 iterations will be there. Okay, next one.
Log n.
I equal to 1, I less than or equal to square root of n, I plus plus. This is indirect way of writing, this is direct way of writing. I am going from 1 to square root of n with 1, 1, 1 increment. 1, 2, 3, 4 up to square root of n only. So how many times I am executing the loop? Only root n times. This is direct way of writing, this is indirect way of writing. You know this should be straight. This is I into I into I less than or equal to n, I plus plus.
Cubed root of n.
Cubed root of, that's all. Cubed root of n. That is square root of n power 1 by 2. This is n power 1 by 3, that's all. It is big O of cubed root of n. Okay, next one.
Log n, ma'am.
Yes. I equal to I star 2. Whenever you have a doubt, you just give values for n and then verify. Let me take, for example, 64. Okay. So, I starts from 1. I starts from 1. 1 less than or equal to 64 is okay. I takes 2 because it is 1 into 2. 2. 2 less than or equal to 64. Then I becomes 4 because it is I equal to I star 2. So, multiplied by 2. Okay. 4 is okay. I 4 2s 8. This is also okay. Then 16. Okay. 32. Okay. 64 is not okay. Stop here. How many iterations? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 iterations only. When you have taken 64, the number of iterations are only 6. How do we get that 6 from 64? This 64 is nothing but 2 power 6. So that's 6. Which means it is log n times. Because log 64 is nothing but 6. That's all. So it is big O of log n. So whenever you see I equal to I star 2, please remember that it is taking us towards log n. Because here it is n, that's why it is log n. Okay, coming to the next one. Similar to that. Here I am going from 1 to n with I equal to I multiplied by 2. Here I am going from n to 1 with I equal to I by 2. It is from 0 to n I plus plus. This is n to 1 I minus minus. Similar to that. 1 to n with I equal to I multiplied by 2. This is from n to 1 I equal to I by 2. Same, right? Both are same. This is the reverse way of writing. Just to confuse us, the question can be like this. So it is log n. Yeah, next one. Nested for loop.
N square.
This is nested for loop. For within a for. 1 to n I plus plus. So this one will run for n times. This is j equal to n. N to 1 j minus minus. First you tell me this one only. Whether it is from 1 to n j plus plus is same as n to 1 j minus minus. So this is also running for n times. For each iteration of the outer one, inner one runs for n times. What is the meaning? When I equal to 1, this one runs for n times. When I equal to 2, this one again runs for n times. When I equal to 3, again runs for n times. So even if I equal to n, it runs for n times. So total how many times this line gets executed? N plus n plus n plus and so on n times. It's nothing but n square. Isn't this the time complexity of this for loop? Outer loop also runs for n times, inner loop also runs for n times. That's why the total time complexity is n square, n into n square. How it is coming is like this. For each iteration of the outer loop, how many times inner loop gets executed? That's what I have calculated. N plus n plus n plus and so on. n times n square. Here it is clear, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm writing other algorithms now. Whether it is 0 or not doesn't matter. This is one algorithm. Discuss them first. First for loop. Okay, nested for loop. I equal to 0, I goes till n by 2 only. I plus plus. J starts from 0 but goes till n by 3 only. So what is the time complexity? This runs
Half of n square.
n square. Because this runs for n by 2 times, this runs for n by 3 times. Because it is an inner for loops, it gets multiplied. So it is big O of n square by 6. By 6 has no importance in big O. That's why it is big O of n square only. Next one. It starts from n, goes till 1 with I minus minus, which means that is n times. It is from 1 to n, j equal to j star 2, not j plus plus. J star 2. We have discussed log n, right? So this inner loop runs for log n times. So n into log n times, because when I equal to n, log n, I equal to n minus 1, log n. So log n plus log n plus log n plus log n and so on n times. So it is n into log n. 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus and so on n times. So obviously it is 1 into n. Like that, n into log n. So the time complexity of this is n into log n. Okay, next one. This for loop is also there, this for loop is also there. In the same algorithm, in the main function, for example. What is the time complexity of whole algorithm? Okay, first this one. 1 to n I plus plus, so this is n times. 1 to n j plus plus, this is also n times. So the top for loop is for n square. How about this for loop? 1 to n k plus plus, this is for n. 1 to n m into 2, which means log n. This is log n. So just this for loop will take n log n time. The upper loop takes n square time, this one takes n log n, but I am interested in the whole algorithm time complexity. I gave you a formula in general properties. This is f of n, g of n. What is f of n plus g of n? Is equal to big O of maximum of these two. That's what I gave you. Maximum of right hand sides. So whichever is maximum among them, that is the time complexity of whole algorithm. So n square and n log n. Yesterday we have learned a relationship, right? Log n, square root of log n, then log n, root n log n power 3 by 2. There is a property. So from that you know which is bigger, which is smaller. So among them n square is biggest. So the time complexity of whole algorithm is n square, because it is max of these two. Okay, next one. From 1 to n I plus plus, so n times. N to 1 j by 2. J by 2. In the reverse order log n, right? 1 to n I equal to I star 2 is same as n to 1 by 2. So this one runs for log n times. Okay. Shall I say the time complexity as n into log n? No, don't just go by the syntaxes. You observe the code. There is a block of statements, whether it is 1 printf or 100 printfs, doesn't matter. Fixed amount of instructions. Then there is a break. There is no if condition, straight break. Which means even if you enter into this inner for loop, in the very first iteration it will break. This is not a loop anymore. It will break. It is not getting executed as a loop. It is executing as a simple fixed amount of instructions. That's all. So only this for loop is working. The inner for loop is not working like a for loop at all. Okay. So we are not interested in this now. So the time complexity of whole algorithm is only big O of n, because of this break, this inner loop is not a loop anymore. Only fixed number of instructions for the outer loop. Next one, 1 to n I plus plus, so n times. N to 1 j minus minus, again n times. 1 to n by 2 k plus plus, which means this one will run for n by 2 times. So what is the time complexity of whole algorithm? Because it is 3 for loops, nested for loops. So n into n by 2, n cube by 2, by 2 has no importance. So the time complexity is big O of n cube. Next one. N percentage 2 equal to 0, then printf even, else printf odd. What is the time complexity of this one?
Big of 1.
1. Because fixed number of instructions, there is no for loop at all. Even if I have 100 or 1000 instructions like this, they are not getting executed repeatedly. Fixed number of instructions. So whenever it is fixed, we say big O of 1 or big O of k, c, or constant. Constant amount of time. So big O of 1. Okay. J equal to I. J less than I. If you say I equal to, that's fine. Even here if you say I equal to, doesn't matter. Time complexity of these two is not starting from 1, it is starting from I. Here it is not going till n or n by 2 or like that, okay? Not even root n. It is just going till I, the outer loop iteration. Let us see this one first. For I equal to 1, how many times this line gets executed, this loop? It starts from 1 because I equal to 1, right? So when I equal to 1, j starts from 1, goes till n with j plus plus, which means it runs for n times. But when I becomes 2, it starts from 2, goes till n, so one iteration is skipped. Only n minus 1 iterations will be there. When I is 3, 2 iterations are skipped because it starts from 3. 3 to n, which means n minus 2 only. When I is 4, n minus 3 only. When I is n, only one iteration because it starts from 1 or 0 iterations. Okay. In the previous case, there will be one iteration. When I is n, it will be 0 iterations. If you want me to say n minus 1th iteration, it is 1 because nth iteration is not there. That's all. So total how many? How many times this line gets executed? N plus n minus 1 plus n minus 2 plus n minus 3 and so on 1. Which means 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus and so on up to n. Sum of n natural numbers. N into n plus 1 by 2. N into n plus 1 by 2. Polynomial, right? If you simplify this, it is a polynomial. Like this. N square plus n by 2. If it is a polynomial of degree 2, we know it is big O of n power k. If f of n is a polynomial of degree k, then it is equal to big O of n power k. So the time complexity is big O of n square. We use this logic for bubble sort, insertion sort, selection sort. The next one, same method. It starts from 1 goes till n, 1 to I only. So when I equal to 1, it starts from 1 but goes till 1 only because now I is 1. Starts from 1, goes till 1, which means only one iteration. But when I is 2, it starts from 1, goes till 2, which means there will be 2 iterations. When I is 3, it starts from 1, goes till 3, which means 3 iterations. So when I is n minus 1, it goes till n minus 1 iterations. Or you can take n. Even if you take r equal to, it goes till n iterations. So if you want me to write, I'll write n because you know the formula for first and natural numbers 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus and so on up to n, which means again n into n plus 1 by 2. If you take n minus 1 only, it is n minus 1 into n by 2. Again, it's a polynomial of degree 2. Here also it is a polynomial of degree 2. It is big O of n square. So the time complexity here is also big O of n square. We'll go for the next one. what is the time complexity of this in terms of big O? Also, what is the return value of this? You know, we are talking about only time complexity, but in the gate questions, they are talking about return value of the function also in terms of big O notation. So we are not interested in that exact answer. Constant multiplication, division, subtractions all can be ignored again. So if we just talk about a time complexity, this is just a for loop. This s equal to 0 written as there are fixed number of instructions, we are not interested. For loop 1 to n I plus plus, which means the function is running for n times, that's all. Okay, there will be n, approximately n instructions. So we say big O of n. That is time complexity. But now, return value of the function best approximates, which means now our concentration is on this s, not how many times the loop gets executed. What is getting returned by this function is what we are interested in. Okay, let's see. When I equal to 1, this 1 gets added to s. Initially it is 0. So 0 plus 1. So s value is 1. When I becomes 2, for the existing s, I am adding 2, which means it is 1 plus 2, 3. When I becomes 3, for the existing s, I am adding this 3, so it is 6. When I is 4, for the existing s, I am adding, which means, see, if you observe, for the existing one, I am adding 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, up to n. When I is n, which means it is 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus and so on up to n. I am trying to find sum of first n natural numbers, that is the meaning. Sum of first n natural numbers. What is the formula for n natural numbers? N into n plus 1 by 2. This is what is getting returned by this function. Okay, because that's what I am calculating in s. And finally I am returning. So this is the exact answer. But I am interested in big O notation, right? So it's a polynomial of degree 2, n into n square. So it's a polynomial of degree 2. So it is big O of n square only. Okay, so the return value of this function best approximates to big O of n square. When you read the question, please read the question carefully. Are they talking about time complexity or the return value? If it is about the return value, what gets added matters. If they are just talking about a time complexity, how many times the loop gets executed is what is important. Whether it is an addition or a printf doesn't matter for us. Is that okay? If I change the question slightly, the same question, s equal to s plus I square, which means I into I. Time complexity does not change because in this for loop, this line gets executed. How many times this line gets executed is the time complexity. How many instructions are getting executed? This line gets executed for n times. That's why big O of n. That doesn't change. Because in that for loop, what you do doesn't matter for me. That line gets executed and it will take fixed amount of time. But in the return value of this function, what we are doing in that for loop matters now. Yes, what I am trying to calculate, because I am finally returning yes, what I am trying to calculate, I am trying to calculate
Sum of
for
first and square.
some of the squares of the first and natural numbers. When I equal to 1, I'm saying 1 square is added. When I equal to 2, for the same 2 square is added. I equal to 3, 3 square is added to the existing one. So it is 1 square plus 2 square plus 3 square and so on up to n square. Sum of the squares of the first n natural numbers. What is the formula?
N into n plus 1 into 2n plus 1 by 6.
6. Yes. So what is the time complexity? Polynomial.
Big O of n cube.
N cube. N into n square, n square into n cube. All others we are not interested. So it is big O of n cube. So the return value of the function best approximates to n cube. Time complexity remains big O of n. Okay, next one, slightly modifying the same. Now it is 1 cube, 2 cube, 3 cube. This is what I am adding. So we are interested in knowing 1 cube, 2 cube, 3 cube, and so on, n cube. Sum of the cubes of the first 10 natural numbers. Formula n into n plus 1 by 2
Whole square.
n square. Time complexity again doesn't change because it is just one for loop. What we are doing inside doesn't matter. But return value, yes, what we are doing inside is also important. And this is what we are trying to find. Inside it is n square, on top of it whole square. So it is n power 4, right? So the return value of the function best approximates to n power 4. Now you understood the difference between time complexity and the return value of the function, right? Yes. This is a function. What is the time complexity? This is a whole algorithm written in a function. What is the time complexity of that function? Then the return value. See, this is a different for loop, this is a different for loop. If we have like that, we will find the time complexity of both the for loops. Whichever is maximum, that becomes the time complexity of whole algorithm. Okay? F of n plus g of n equal to big O of max of h1 of n comma h1 of 2. Okay, this for loop, it starts from 1 goes till n I equal to I star 2, which means it is running for log n times. Log n times. So for log n times, this is getting incremented. It becomes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up to log n times only, because this line gets executed for log n times. So p value becomes log n. So before I start this for loop, p value is log n. That I am substituting here. J equal to 1, j less than log n, j plus plus. Okay. So it starts from 1, goes till log n with 1, 1, 1 increment. So what will be the k value? It is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up to log n only. So the incrementation, it is just incrementing by 1 for each and every iteration. So it is, the loop is running for log n times. So q value will be log n. But what is the time complexity? This for loop also runs from 1 to log n by incrementing 1. So 1, 2, 3 and so on log n times. So this is also log n. Log n, this for loop will take log n time. This for loop will take log n time. So sum of these two is nothing but max of these two is nothing but log n. That's why the time complexity is log n. Okay, time complexity is log n. But what is the return value of this function? In this case, because it is 1, 2, 3 and so on up to log n, 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 and so on log n times. That 1 is getting added for each and every iteration for the existing value. That's why it is 1 plus 1 plus 1 and so on log n times. So q value is also log n. Finally, we are returning that. That's why the return value is also log n. Is that clear? Now I'm going to change a small thing here. Then you should tell me time complexity and return value. This is 20. Now I'm talking about 21. Everything is same. J equal to J star 2. Small modification. What is the time complexity and what is the return value? Tell me.
Time complexity is log n, ma'am.
Okay.
Return value is log n.
Correct. Obviously. Because this one is also running for log n times. This for loop is also, see, it starts from 1, goes till log n. But this is j equal to j star 2. Whenever it is j equal to j star 2, our time complexity is big O of log of whatever is here. Log of what is present here. What is present here? It is log n. So it is log of log n. Log of log n times this loop is running. Okay, that's fine. This is log n, this is log n. So the time complexity is sum of these two. Sum of these two is maximum of these two. This is log n, a big value. Log of log n is small value. So the time complexity is still log n. Now the return value, because it starts from 1. See, only in the initial phase I made it as 0. So it is 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus and so on. How many times this is running? It is running only for log n times. So the value of q after this iteration will be log n only. Because for every iteration you are adding only 1. That's why q value will be log n. Finally we are returning. So it is log of log n. So that is the return value. Now there is a difference, right? In the previous case both are same. Now there is a difference. I'll do a small modification for this again. Then you should tell me. What is the time complexity and return value? Sure, I am making it as 0 only on the top. I am not touching anywhere in the function. But this p is every time becoming 0 for each iteration. It starts from 1, goes till n, k plus plus, which means it runs for n times.
Time complexity big O of n log n.
We go of n log n. Okay, return value.
N into log n, ma'am.
Yes, n into log n. Yeah. So this is the iteration. So for each and every iteration, I am making it as 0 p, which means once this is p equal to 0. So when I execute this, always it is log n. P equal to log n. And once this loop is completed, it is log n. For the next iteration, again it will be log n. For the next iteration of k, again it will be log n. Which means what I am passing here, p is always log n. I am making this to be log n always by initializing p internally within the loop. Okay, so what I am passing to this function is always log n. Because this is j equal to j star 2, it is log of whatever is passed here. What we passed here is log n. That's why this loop runs for log n. Okay, so when k equal to 1, p value at the end of this p value will be log n. And then this q value will be log of log n, which means log n. Okay. Next iteration, when k becomes 2, because p becomes 2 here with this for loop, again p becomes log n only log n, right? See, if I remove this p equal to 0, that's a different case, but I kept it intentionally. So every time p value will be log n, which is passed here, again for the q value, for the existing q, log n gets added, which means in the first iteration it is log n, in the second iteration it is log n plus log n, 2 times log n. When k equal to 3, one more log n gets added to q because I didn't make q to be 0 inside. Okay, so again one more log n gets added to the existing q, one more log n like that. When you go for n, it is log n plus log n plus log n plus log n and so on n times. So it is n into log n. Okay, q value, once you come out of the for loop, q value will be n into log n. So the return value is n into log n. Time complexity is n into log n. Because within this for loop, the maximum is log n. Outer for loop is anyway there, n into log n. So from this max off, because two different for loops, so max off, which is log n into this, because this is internal for loop, it is n into log n. So it is n log n. Return value is n into log n. Yeah. So that is about finding the time complexities of non-recursive algorithms. We just discussed non-recursive algorithms. But we have covered many examples, right? Now we understood. Even if there is a slight difference, just do it carefully. But if needed, give a value for n and then verify. Erase this. Finding the time complexities of recursive algorithms. Time complexities of recursive algorithms. Okay. There are two steps in it, as I told you. First, you need to write the recurrence relation. How to solve, that's a different story. So first, we will write different recursive algorithms. So first thing is int sum of int n. If n equal to 1, return 1, else return n plus sum of n minus 1. So this is a recursive algorithm, sum function is called. So now we want to find the time complexity of this algorithm. Okay, for which first we need to write the recurrence relation. Recurrence relation. How do you write it? We are interested in finding the time taken by this function when n is passed. Time taken by this function when n is passed. That I am representing with t of when n is passed. That's why n. So t of n is nothing but time taken by some function when n is passed. Okay. Then if I ask you what is the time taken, your immediate answer will be it is same as the time taken by the same function when n minus 1 is passed, because you don't know that. So it is the time taken by the same sum function when n minus 1 is passed. See, if this is the time taken by n, this is the time taken by n minus 1 by the same function. So your answer is time taken by the same function when n minus 1 is passed plus a fixed amount of instruction, because there is a arithmetic operation, a return statement, a comparison, something. a fixed number of instructions are also getting added. Okay, are also getting executed, which needs some fixed amount of time, no doubt. Okay, so some fixed amount of time can be written as plus 1, plus k, plus c, doesn't matter. It's a recursive, it's a recurrence relation. Okay, so this is how we write the recurrence relation. When I asked you what is the time taken by the sum function when n is passed, your answer is the time taken by the same function when n minus 1 is passed plus some fixed amount of instruction. Please do not write plus n because here it is plus n. So I will write plus n. That is wrong. Because we are interested in the time taken, not the value returned. That we will discuss again. Okay, recurrence relation for the value returned. That we will write again. But for the time taken, it is just one arithmetic operation forming one arithmetic operation, which means one fixed instruction. That's why plus fixed number of instructions. So when we are writing the recurrence relation for the time complexity, we are not interested in what gets added, what gets multiplied, what gets divided. Okay, it is just an instruction, an arithmetic, a logical, something, a fixed number of instructions that gets executed along with this sum function. That's why plus one. So this is the recurrence relation for time complexity. This is the recurrence relation to find the time complexity. How do we solve it? That we will see in substitution method and master's theorem. First, you should be able to write the recurrence relation. Now, if I ask you what is the recurrence relation for the return value of the function? If I ask you what is the return value of this function best approximates to in terms of big O, first because it is a recursion, you need to write the recurrence relation. There is no escape. So the value returned by the function, you can write some other value here. You don't have to write t. You can write anything. But as we are happy with t of for the time complexity, even for the return value, I'm writing t of. So the value returned by this function when n is passed is the value returned by the same function when n minus 1 is passed plus n, because this is what gets returned, plus n. This is the difference for the return value and for the time complexity. We will solve this and find the answer for time complexity. We will solve this and find the return value. Both will do later. Okay. Okay. So this is how we write the recurrence relations. Now shall I write different algorithms so that you can write the recurrence relations? Is that fine?
Yes, ma'am.
Write the recurrence relations for time complexity also, for the return value also, so that you will be habituated to it. This is floor function. step first. What is the time complexity reference relation? Time taken by this algorithm when n is passed is time taken by the same algorithm when n minus 1 is passed, and time taken for one multiplication or one return statement, 2 or 3 extra instructions, fixed number of instructions, so plus 1. What is the return value? What is the reference relation for the return value? The value returned by this function when n is passed is the value returned by the same function when n minus 1 is passed, and that gets multiplied by n. With what it gets multiplied, that also matters because we are interested in the return value. Okay? Previously it was just time. Whether you multiply with 100 or with n, the time taken for it is same. But a fixed amount of time. Here the return value, whether you multiply with 100 or multiply with n or 1, it matters not. Okay. Then for this Fibonacci time complexity, reference relation for time complexity, the value returned by this function when n is passed is the value returned by the same function when n minus 1 is passed and n minus 2 is passed. Time taken for this plus time taken for this, because these are two different recursive calls only, same recursion calls. It's not a different function, it is the same function, that's why T of. But what you passed matters, T of n minus 2. Value is also the same, return value. The value when n is passed is the value returned by n minus 1 and the value returned by n minus 2, and those two gets added. Those two gets added because it's an addition. If it was a subtraction, I would have written minus here. But this remains the same because the time taken by this plus time taken by this. Even if you have minus here, for example, whether you have minus, multiplication, division, doesn't matter. This time complexity remains the same. Time taken by this plus time taken by this is the total time taken. But when it is about the value, whether you are subtracting, dividing, multiplying, what you are doing also matters. Here it is addition, that's why I written addition. For this algorithm, oh, here also two calls, n by 2, n by 2. Two times I am invoking the same function with n by 2, is it? The time taken when n is passed, time complexity. Time taken when n is passed is, should I think this function is also invoked and this function is also invoked? Then the time taken is double for this plus this. But it is an else if and else. If this is invoked, this is not done. If this is invoked, this is not done. Only one of them gets executed. So the time taken by any one of them, and both looks almost the same, so you can take anything because we are interested in the best approximation only. So the time taken by the same function when n by 2 is passed, what you are passing to the function? Previous all cases, I passed n minus 1. Here I passed n minus 2. Now I am passing n by 2. That's why n by 2. Some constant amount of instructions for return statements or something like that. It's not that both the functions are getting executed.
Ma'am, then for previous one, why didn't you add plus one, ma'am, while calculating that? Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am, next one.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. For written statement and all, plus one, why didn't we add, ma'am?
You can, no problem. Plus 1 doesn't matter. Return statement is so plus 1. Even there I can ignore plus 1. Even here I can ignore plus 1. But if I write plus 1, it will match your pattern when you are learning master's theorem. That's why I'm writing plus 1 always. Plus C, plus K, plus 1. Anything is okay. So that it matches with your master's theorem formula. Even if you do not write, it doesn't matter.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, this is for time complexity. Now the return value. Return value also the same because you are not adding anything to it. So the return value is also T of n is T of n by 2. That's all. You are not adding anything, subtracting anything, multiplying anything. That's all. Return value. Coming to this one, time complexity. Time taken by this function when n is passed is time taken by the same function when n by 2 is passed, and you are invoking the same function again. Well, whatever this is returning, same thing is returned by this also, but that is not how it works, right? By seeing this function call, it will run the complete recursion. By seeing this function call, again it runs everything. So the time is spent for this function call also. It's not reusing the value that was calculated before. By then it was lost already. So it will invoke again, it will be doing the whole work. So the time taken by the same when n by 2 is passed, plus time taken by the same when n by 2 is passed, plus some arithmetic operations and return statements. So it is T of n by 2, again T of n by 2 plus 1. So I can write it as 2 times T of n by 2 plus 1. That is the recurrence relation. Now coming to the return value is also the same. T of n is equal to, first one is returned, second one is returned. So T of n by 2 plus T of n by 2. You are adding those two values only. So it is 2 times T of n by 2. That's all.
Ma'am, once repeat the time complexity.
For this one, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Time taken when n is passed is time taken by this recursive call plus time taken by this recursive call. Because it is not in else if statements like this. If it was an else if and else, if this is invoked, this is not invoked. If this is invoked, this is not invoked. Which means for this, only one function call is invoked. But in this case, both the function calls are getting invoked. This is also invoked and this is also invoked. You may think that whatever is the value returned by this function call, same thing is returned by this function call also. That we know. Our mind says, yes, both of them will return the same. But when it is in execution, by seeing this function call, it jump to the functions and it will be returning some value and you captured here. When you go to the next line, it doesn't know that I have just done the same function call because there is no history. It is not maintaining any history. Just by seeing the present function call, it jumps for the work. So it does the whole work what it has done here. So the time taken by this plus time taken by this, some additions. So time taken when n by 2 is passed, also another function. So T of n by 2 when n by 2 is passed plus some additions and returns. So it is 2 times T of n by 2 plus 1.
Okay, ma'am.
We are interested in this f function. What is the time complexity of this f? What is the return value of this f? Give me the return relation.
T of n equal to T of n by 2 plus n, ma'am.
Okay. This one.
T of n by 2 plus n into n plus 1 by 2.
Constant into n square. Because that is an n square, right? For loops. For loops time complexity. You don't have to say the exact answer, n into n plus 1 by 2. N into n is n square, so some constant into n square is enough. Okay, because finally we are interested in big O notation only. That's why. If you write, that's fine. It is n square plus n by 2. It's a polynomial of degree 2, so it is approximately same as n square. Some constant into n square we can write. Because that is the format that we'll be using for solving by using Master's theorem. Okay, yes. This is the reconciliation. You see, what is the time complexity? The time taken by the same function when n by 2 is passed, yes, plus the time taken by the sum function. This is a different function, not the recursive function, not the same recursive function, right? So the time taken by this should be added. But what is the time taken by the sum function when n is passed? It is just one for loop. 1 to n, whatever I passed, the same thing, I plus plus, which means this loop is running for n times. Whatever is the parameter that I passed, those many times this loop gets executed. The parameter I passed is n. So the time complexity of this one is n. Some constant into n you can say, because that is how we write. But that constant can be 1, c into n. Okay. So this is for time complexity. Now we are interested in the return value. So what is returned by this function? The value returned by the same function when n by 2 is passed plus the value returned by the sum function. What is the value returned by the sum function when you pass n? Because it is going from 1 to n, it is adding first 1, then 2, then 3, 4, 5, up to n, it is adding. Which means it is trying to find 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus and so on up to n. Sum of first and natural numbers n into n plus 1 by 2. Okay. So that is the value returned by this. That's why I am writing. Okay. But this one I can simplify saying T of n by 2 plus some constant into n square, because finally we are interested in the time complexity in big O notation. In big O notation, this is nothing but big O of n square. That's why. You can straight away say big O of n square also instead of writing c into n square. Okay. So this is the return value. So we will solve this to say what is the return value of this function in terms of big O. In terms of big O. Right. So we learned how to write the recurrence relations. It's clear, right? Recurrence relations for time complexity as well as for the return value. Now, how do we solve those recurrence relations? Solving the recurrence relation by using substitution method. We are just learning, but we will not use it. We will straight away go forward. master's theorem in gate questions. Okay, the recurrence relation is like this. T of n is equal to T of n minus 1 plus 1, for example. And the exit step, when t becomes 1, the answer is 1 or 0, whatever you give it. For now it is 1. Okay, now what is substitution? If T of n is T of n minus 1 plus 1, what is T of n minus 1? If it is n, I am reducing it by 1. If it is n minus 1, I will reduce it by 1 so that it becomes n minus 2. Plus 1 remains the same. Because that is the substitution that you told me. T of n formula is this. Then T of n minus 1 formula will be this. I will substitute this here. So T of n is equal to, in this place I want to keep this. T of n minus 2 plus 1 plus existing 1 is already there. In this place I substituted this. Nothing but T of n minus 2 plus 2. I'll continue the same. I just phoned for one example. I'll continue the same. Then what is T of n minus 2? It is T of n minus 3 plus 1. That is the substitution. This plus 2 I am keeping it as it is. Simplify T of n minus 3 plus 3. Like this. I will go to an extent. Obviously I should go towards the exit step. That is recursion. So there will be a case where it is n minus of n minus 1. It is 3, it is 3. So it is n minus 1. Here also it will be n minus 1. Fine, proceed with the steps. So T of n minus n plus 1. Plus n minus n get cancelled. This is T of 1. This n minus 1 is as it is. What is T of n? Exit step is 1. 1 plus n minus 1 plus 1 minus 1 are cancelled. The final answer is n. Okay. So if you follow the substitution method, you will come up with the exact answer. But I am interested in the big O notation. Yes, by seeing this function, you can straightaway write big O notation. No problem. Because you know the formulas of polynomial. For example, if you get a polynomial, it is big O of whatever is the highest power, n power that. So here it is power 1. So it is n. So we'll get the exact answer if you do it. See, this is a simple mathematical, that's why it is not taking time. But when I give you T of n equal to T of n by 4 plus n square, it will take time, no doubt. So this is a simple one with decrease, with minus operation I have now. Now I will do an example with division operation. T of n is equal to T of n by 2 plus 1. With the division I am performing. The same substitution. If T of n is like this, what is T of n by 2? It is T of n by 2 by 2, which means n by 4 plus 1. This is the substitution for T of n by 2. I kept this one as it is. Now simplify n by 4 plus 2. Okay. In place of n by 4, T of n by 4 by 2, which is n by 8 plus 1. This is the substitution. Simplify T of n by 8 plus 3. Now if you observe, then T of n by 4, which means 2 square. 2 square is there, it is 2. Then this is 2 cube. That power is here. So if you go on like this, there will be a stage where T of n by 2 power k plus k. It is growing like that. But I should go towards the exit step, right? Where T of 1 is 1. Which means these two should get cancelled. That's when I will say T of 1. So I am assuming let n is equal to 2 power k. That implies k is equal to log n to the base 2. You know the formula, right? N equal to 2 power k, k is log of n power to the base 2, n base 2. Substitute this here. So T of n by 2 power k. When 2 power k is also n, they get cancelled. So it is T of 1. What is k? K is log n. Okay. But what is T of 1? 1. 1 plus log n is the answer. But I'm not interested in the exact answer. I'm interested in big O of. constant addition, multiplication, everything can be ignored. So it is big O of log n. That is the solution for this recurrence relation, big O of log n. So if it is a subtraction method, we will go that way. If it is a division method, we will go this way. I have written simple examples, but like this, if a big expression is given, you will have to do the same steps. There is no difference. But you should know many other formulas like 1 plus a square plus and so on, a power n is equal to a power n plus 1 minus 1 by a minus 1. Because you will be, if n square is given, the obviously you will have to use this formula somewhere. 1 plus 1 by 2 plus 1 by 3 plus and so on up to 1 by n is approximately same as log n or less than or equal to log n. 1 power p plus 2 power p plus 3 power p and so on plus k power p is equal to k power p plus 1 by p plus 1. Some formulas like this you will have to use. It's useful for the exams, for university exams. But in GATE, we will not be using the substitution method to solve questions. Even if they are asking for this exact answer, definitely they will give in the options. So we can substitute directly in the options and give the answer instead of solving by using this method. If the answers are in terms of big O, we will straight away use master's theorem. So substitution method is not much used in GATE. Where is this? Master's theorem. For decrease and conquer case. I'm talking about decrease and conquer case, which means let T of n is equal to A into T of n minus B plus F of n format, where f of n is in terms of n power d format, which means a polynomial is there here, a polynomial. Plus 1 is also fine because that is 1 into n power 0, polynomial of degree 0. So even if there is a constant, still it works. Even if it is like n square, n cube, n power 2.5, for all of them it works. Okay, if f of n is in terms of n power d format. Not like log n. Log n doesn't. If you have log n here, you cannot use this theorem. You should go for substitution method. Okay, so where f of n is big O of n power d format, then only the formula works. Then T of n is equal to big O of n power d. If a is less than 1, it is n power d plus 1. If a is equal to 1, a means this one. Before T of, what is present? It is n power d into a power n by b if a is greater than 1. This is the theorem. Whenever you see decrease and conquer case, this minus is nothing but decrease. If it is by, that is divide and conquer. I will write the formula for that. So we are talking about decrease and conquer. This is a into T of n minus b plus This is in terms of n power d format. Any polynomial. We will be solving many examples by using this theorem. Then you will have a clarity. Okay, this is decrease and conquer. Finished? Now we will talk about divide and conquer. Divide and conquer. Theorem 1. Let T of n is equal to A into T of n by B. This is by. That's why it is divide and conquer. If it is minus, it is decrease and conquer. Plus f of n format. But f of n is in terms of n power d format. If it is like this, and b is greater than 1, a is greater than or equal to 1. So, when f of n is in n power d format, like polynomial format, then theorem 1 works. If it is not in polynomial format, you have theorem 2. For this, you have theorem 2 also for divide and conquer. Okay, but here, if it is not in n power d format, you should go for substitution. Then, T of n is equal to E2 of n power d if a is less than b power d. It is n power d into log n. If a is equal to b power d, it is big O of n power log a to the base b. This is n power. This log a to the base b is n's power. If a is greater than b power. What is a, b, d? All are clear, right? Here also. A, b, d. The d is this polynomial's highest power, highest degree. This is theorem 1. Theorem 2, not sure whether you learnt it as part of academics or not, but theorem 2 exists, which is given in the Foreman's book, and there are very few gate questions by using that. Mostly gate questions are on these two only, but in the recent years, there are once or twice they have given a recurrence relation where you need to solve it by using theorem 2. But in the class, we will be solving many questions even by using theorem 2. Theorem 2. When f of n is not in n power d format, that's when you go for theorem 2. And in that, I am talking about case 1. If f of n is equal to big O of n power log a to the base b minus epsilon, that minus epsilon is from the power, where some epsilon is some small value, a small positive value. Okay, then T of n is equal to theta of n power log a to the base b. That is the answer of T of n. Case 2. If f of n is equal to theta of n power log a to the base b into log n whole power p, then T of n is, then the answer depends on this p value. Then if p is equal, shall I take p or k? Shall I take k? Anything is fine. If k is greater than or equal to 0, then T of n, the final answer is theta of n power log a to the base b into log n whole power k plus 1. If k is equal to minus 1, then T of n is equal to theta of n power log a to the base b into log n. If k is less than minus 1, then T of n is equal to theta of n power log a to the base b. This is case 2. Don't worry, we'll be solving examples by using these theorems. Then you will have clear idea, but you should by heart this theorem. Unless you do that, we cannot solve questions. Then case 3. This is the last case. If f of n is big omega of n power log a to the base b plus epsilon or some small epsilon greater than 0, and there is one more condition, and a into f of n by b is less than or equal to some c into f of n. First, c is less than 1, a fraction. Okay, then t of n is equal to theta of f of n is the answer. Finally, we are interested in this t of, but based on a condition, we are giving these answers. So when f of n, this is divide and conquer, if f of n is in n power d format, it's a polynomial here, then we go by theorem 1. If it is not in the form of polynomial, what is the meaning of not a polynomial? If this f of n is like log n, n factorial, n by log n. Okay, all these are not they are not in the polynomial formats, right? So in all those cases, we go for theorem 2. We will solve some examples on that also. You should by heart theorem 1 and theorem 2. Theorem 2, both the cases, case 1. I mean, decrease and conquer case, divide and conquer case, in divide and conquer, theorem 1, theorem 2. All of them. Up to 2015 or 16, they have not touched any question on this. But in the recent years, I have seen 1 or 2 questions on theorem 2 also. Just to by heart, maybe it looks a little scary, but when you are solving, it is not much difficult. Okay, is that clear? Shall we solve some questions on decrease and conquer, or we'll continue the next week? Everybody wrote the theorem, right? Shall we solve 1 or 2 questions by using decrease and conquer? Just by using decrease and conquer. I'm not going to cover all of them, just 1 or 2. T of n is equal to T of n minus 1 plus 1 minus, so it is decrease and conquer, plus 1 k, c, whatever, constant. That constant into n power 0, that you can keep it, no problem. And now it looks in terms of n power d only. Okay, I'm not changing the f of n function. N power 0 is anyway 1, right? That's all. So, in this, a value is what is present in front of t, it is 1. B value n minus b, it is also 1. D, n power d, d is 0. Okay, it's clear. Now, the formula of decrease and conquer is based on a value. If a is less than 1, a equal to 1, a greater than 1. It is a equal to 1. If a is equal to 1, the formula is T of n is equal to big O of n power d plus 1. So it is n power d is 0. 0 plus 1 is 1. Which means big O of n, that's all. And we solved it by using recurrence relation, by substitution method, and we got the same answer. Another question. T of n is t of n minus 1 plus n. Whether they give plus n or some constant into n doesn't matter for us. We are not interested in that constant, you just remove it. What is n power is matter. On the whole, it is a polynomial of degree 1, that's all. So a equal to 1, b equal to 1, d equal to n power is also 1. When a is equal to 1, the formula of t of n for decrease and conquer is big O of n power d plus 1. It is n power, d is 1, 1 plus 1 is 2, n square. So we are, finally the answer is big O of n square. So for a recurrence relation that you have written like this or a return value, recurrence relation is like this. Answer is by using Master's theorem, you are straight away getting the answer without going for a substitution method which will take time. Is that okay? If you want one more, t of n is equal to 2 times t of n minus 1 plus n. A equal to 2, b equal to 1, d is also 1. Or let me take n square. Now a equal to 2, which is greater than 1 case. If a is greater than 1, t of n is equal to big O of n power log n power d into a power n by b. A power n by b. Big O of n power d. D is 2, right? So n square into a. A is 2. 2 power n by 1. N by 1 is anyway n. That's all. So it is n square into 2 power n. N square into 2 power n. If I didn't write this as n square, it would have been n into 2 power n. That's all. Clear, right? This is how we will be solving by using Master's theorem for decrease and conquer. And we will be writing many such recurrence relations. Okay, many such recurrence relations in decrease and conquer, divide and conquer, theorem 1, theorem 2. With that, we will be completing asymptotic notations. Then we will solve gate questions. Altogether, it may take another 3 hours approximately. Okay, 2 to 3 hours. If you have any doubts, you can ask me now. Any questions? No doubts? Okay, then we'll close the session. Thank you very much.